Ooh.
Pam, I'm gonna log back in on my phone, okay?
Okay.
Thanks.
And Pam, I think Janice has something that she wants you to help share. She needs to share your screen. Hi, Janice.
Hi, how's everyone today?
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Sure, my pleasure. Ah,
Who was the woman that was showing that I couldn't figure out the woman that did the slideshow because that was pretty interesting.
I think she's the selectman from Easton, chair of selectman from Easton, but she's also used to work for a regional planning group. Her name is Dottie Fugazi. But she had a lot of great facts. I hope a lot of you were able to catch that meeting last night. It was
Pam was able to go. It was me, but
it was you, but it wasn't you.
yeah.
Yeah, so Dottie Fuljanidi, chair of Easton's Board of Selectmen, which is a 40R community. And she's also an economic recovery planner. So she had a lot of great facts, I thought, about what was positive about a 40R.
Well,
A lot of good experience.
well, I kind of briefed everybody before you came on that this is an opportunity, and the plans have already been, or the planning board has already accepted that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's been in the works for about 2.5 years. It was introduced in 2017 or 18. So yeah, they've accepted it, and it's going to go to town meeting, which can be iffy. As you heard last night, there's some dissenting votes and in the general public about whether or not this is a good opportunity. So I guess that's up for discussion.
Yeah, and what Janice is looking from us to do is support, as a chamber, support the impact on business, that if it's a positive impact on business in our community. So Janice, why don't you give them a little rundown?
Sure. Well, I guess just to kind of follow up on what Valerie said, this is going to be kind of a decision that you're gonna have to make, because it is a many sided situation. And I say that not with an ominous tone, but with there's a lot to consider in building a 40R overlay district in this particular area. But I think it's going to be up to you to see whether or not it's economically wise for the community based on what you can read. I sent Valerie a bunch of links and some different videos, and I think I sent you, or I will send you, some pictures of other communities that have 40Rs and how developed they are at this point. So I think I just want to tell you, I'm not trying to tell you how to vote or how to think, but if you feel this is something you can support by looking at all the evidence, and there's a lot of it, I hope you will consider that. And we're having another meeting September the 7th, and we'd like to hear your voice if you do feel it's an economically viable endeavor. So anyhow, what the 40R is a few years ago, the town has a requirement to create at least 10% of its housing stock to be affordable, which means it means different things to different people, but essentially it's paying up to 30% of your income for rent or for mortgages. And the town and many places don't make that quota. And the governor is, wanting to enforce the fact that affordable housing needs to be developed. And this was one of the priorities of the town, was to create a Chapter 40R overlay zone, because it requires that the housing built in this area be at least 20% affordable. And if you don't reach your 10% affordability criteria, the state can come in and throw 40B developments, housing developments all over the place, which don't include commercial retail and which don't have a smart growth plan attached to them. A smart growth plan, I won't get too much into planning, but a smart growth tries to best utilize the space and plan for effective transportation, use of the surrounding infrastructure, careful planning to fit into the town the best way it can, and take advantage of the resources that the town has. 40Bs don't do that. They just plop wherever the developer can buy land. So we're trying to meet our 10%. That's the main impetus of this Chapter 40R zoning overlay. We are also requiring or pushing that there be commercial development attached to it as well. And so we right now have a developer who's interested in that parcel who will be doing about, and this sounds like a lot, but it may not be, but it sounds like a lot, but it could be even more. They're interested in doing about 400 units. 25% of those would be affordable. And they're also looking at doing some commercial development along with that. So it's a mixed use development. And the reason it's smart growth is because it's located near a transit center. As you know, that we have a train station coming in, or maybe you don't know, some people don't know that the MBTA is building a train station here, which is going to open up in 2023. And they're going to be closing the Lakewood Middleborough station and leaving that open only for the Cape Flyer. So this will be where a lot of folks will be coming to catch the train from the south or from the west or north. And there's been traffic studies on whether or not it can be accommodating to all of the new ridership. And of course, MBTA says it's not a problem. And they're building the station and including traffic signals and all kinds of infrastructure redevelopment to support the growth in that area. So this developer wants to take advantage of that. And since we started looking at that area as a 40R zoning, I don't know if you want to, Pam, show. Maybe Valerie, were you going to pop up the?
Pam will do, she'll show the, which one did you want her to show?
Well, the one that's really people are looking at is the one down near the train station. I'm looking at my own page, so I'm not sure. It's not the John Glass Square one. It's the other Middleborough sub-district.
Okay.
No, if I'll be able to find it.
So part of the benefits of doing these 40R overlay zone is because the town will receive incentive payments for doing affordable housing development in a controlled, smart growth way. And I believe we get up to $300,000 for the initial overlay, and then certain amounts of dollars per units that go into that development. But that's not the incentive. That's like a byproduct, a good thing, a positive thing. And so that's one reason the town likes a 40R overlay zone.
Pam, it's the Middleborough 40R Site 2 that she's talking about, and it was in her the email that I sent yesterday.
Okay.
It's from me, but forwarded from Janice.
If you have any problems, I'll pull something up here too, if you can't work it.
Yeah.
I've got it if you want me to try.
Was it this?
No, that's Serpid's.
Okay.
I can share if you give me the.
You should be able to.
Okay. Oh,
I mean, that may have the picture in there if you want to go through it, but.
Sorry, I didn't know I was going to be doing that.
Sure.
you didn't. I thought she was going to have it up and then share.
Yeah, I thought she was sharing, so
Me?
yeah.
Oh, I can share. I've got it up. I thought Valerie wanted to share. That's what she had mentioned the other day. So.
No, go ahead. It's all
We're
yours.
not talking.
So Janice, is the point of this, because to speaking to the Chamber of Commerce specifically, is it that 400 units, figure 2 people per unit minimum, right? That's an extra 800 people coming through the commerce of Middleborough and our economic environment, or is there some other kind of monetary incentive? Because $200,000 to $300,000 for an incentive to bring in a 400 unit development isn't even going to pay for 2 police officers, 1 firefighter, and 2 teachers, right? So that
Right.
from that standpoint, so obviously that's not something that would really fancy from an economic standpoint. But is there something else that you
Yes.
want us to support? Okay.
Yes, I think you have to look at the bigger picture here. You have to look at the economy that's going to be affected by these people coming in and the amount of income that these people would generate for the community. You have to look at the economic, and that's what I say, if you have an opportunity to look at the presentations that were provided by Valerie, the presenters go into some great length in their experience as to the tax revenue that comes in for the town, but then also how this concentrated focused development allows people to the downtown area and the surrounding, outgrowth from that to flourish. And as you have people that are coming into these apartments, they eventually stay and buy homes within the community, and their tax revenue is spent, or their income is spent within the community in various ways. So it's a matter of really looking at, you're going to be having a larger group of residents that are going to be taking advantage of the services. The more the development and the growth and the flourishing of the downtown area, which we're, just as an aside, we're looking at planned development here because we're trying to avoid urban sprawl where you have, things spreading out and affecting areas that you don't want them, that you don't want affected, such as, agricultural or conservation areas, and where services can be concentrated, the best use for the tax dollar and all of that. But as these people are coming in and living here and growing here, it naturally reaps benefits for the businesses in town. And I think there again, it's more of a big picture effect. You're lessening the tax burden on everyone. You're by having more people pay taxes. Someone brought up the other night that if you keep the residential components of a town the same for decades, or that's an exaggeration, but for years and years, prices and things go up. So you're having more and more people, less and less people, they're the same people paying more and more taxes. Things are going to get more and more expensive. You have to accommodate for new residential growth. It's just going to happen. Traffic is going to happen. Traffic is coming into Middleborough now from other places that are affecting the traffic congestions. It's not the growth in Middleborough. So it's going to happen. You can't stop growth. As you know, people are coming to Middleborough to live in order to work in Boston because it's affordable. So things are happening. So it's a butterfly ripple effect out throughout the community. And I guess the consideration for the chamber is how can you see the benefits of this for you as a business person? That's the discussion, I think, for the chamber to have.
Yeah.
When you look at new residents coming in who need services, and even beyond that, lessening of taxes because there's new residents.
Can we just ask questions as we go along?
Sure. Again, I'm I'm not the expert. I don't live in a 40R community. Obviously, we're here, but yes, please, I can try to answer any question you have.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Janice, whether there was discussion about what type of commercial development is expected and how much and exactly where that would be.
Yeah, again, this is just a proposed development. It's not going to be here in this one here. Right now, unfortunately, here in the one that's showing on the screen, there's a 40B going in because they wanted the old bank building there, not the same developer. And this decision was not made in time to restrict that to a mixed use. So we've missed our window on that one. It's now just housing in that.
Is
bank
that
building.
here? Where is that, Janice?
Yeah,
That's
it's-
Everett Square.
Yeah, this is Everett Square.
Right, right.
Is it the old, this one?
It's where the old,
Rockland Trust.
Rockland Trust Building, yeah.
yeah. So now that's just gonna, not that that's anything wrong, but again, that's not planned development that includes commercial or that, it's just housing. So that's the 40B we're trying to avoid plopping anywhere, because that could have been a nice commercial area. But again, it's just that one spot where the Rockland Trust Building is.
So we discussed this the other day, Janice, and you did suggest, so have things changed just since Friday? Because you did suggest that there was going to be a commercial development there.
No, the commercial development is near the train station.
Right, okay.
So
So
can you
it's
see
it's the other screen.
can you see my cursor?
Mhm.
Okay, so this is Main Street and Grove. This is where the new Harbor One is, right? And Rockland Trust, I think, is like right here.
I
And
can't-
then there's a little
Like-
street that goes up this way. And
The
then
only,
there's,
I think the only thing, sorry, Valerie, we're looking, well, at least for me, the only thing I can see is the page
Map.
that has the planned 40B
Yeah.
on it with Everett Square. You got to switch over to the other sheet.
how about that?
No,
Oh, interesting. Okay. Preview,
You have to
preview.
stop share and then click on another one, Valerie.
Okay,
Stop share and then click on the next one.
if I can find it. This is so obnoxious. Put you guys down. I mean, this is the difference between, I guess, an Apple and I don't know where to go to click it. Oh, hit share. That's what I need to do, right? Oop, wrong thing.
So one of the other things is Valerie, is looking for this, the chairman of the planning board brought up, and this is something that's been under advisement since, I think, June, is that the state is going to mandate development within a half a mile of a transit station for any new MBTA community, which is what we are now. So unless we do a 40R, and I'm not trying to say, it sounds like blackmail, but we have the option to smart develop around a train station, or once the state figures out its legislation on this, they can come in and say that a developer can go anywhere within a half a mile of a train station and develop housing. So it's kind of a either or, and they would accept a 40R smart growth plan development to meet the requirement that the state is now putting into play of a 40A, which is that half a mile development around a train station. Here we're kind of beating them to the punch with a smart growth development, so they can't just take over and tell us where they're going to put a development or where they're going to work with a developer to create housing. So the state is really pushing of housing and affordable housing. And this is getting on top of it by, we've already made the design plans as to how the building is going to be in keeping with the local historic, influence. And the design is looking acceptable. So we have control over this.
Can you see this now, West Grove Street and Main Street?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and so Harbor One, this is the street this is Rockland Trust, and it goes up this way. It's exactly where you thought, Julia, coming off of 495, looks like there's going to be a roadway this way, right?
Right.
Okay, so where is the development, here or here or
Yeah,
here?
it's right there where the Chevy.
Right here?
Yeah, it's see where I wish I could touch with my screen. It's right where your pointer is, down to the railroad track.
There.
No, going south. It's like these parcels.
Oh,
on
this way.
Clark Street going south and west to the railroad track.
Okay, so that's, I mean, it's very similar to the Lakeville Station development.
Very similar. Very similar. But in keeping with the theme of Middleborough.
Yes, Sandy, you wanted to
Sandy?
say something?
Yeah, I just want to give a frame of reference here. So it's, yeah, similar to Lakeville, which is well off-road and well behind, not visible, just so you understand. The Woodlands apartment complex on 28. Now that's not obviously 40
The
R.
40B.
Yeah, but they are very 1 and 2 bedroom, up to 3 bedroom apartments. And there are, I believe it's 400 in that complex. So to understand what you're talking about on the intensity of that property we're looking at right now, that's the scope. At least the way they lay it out, it's like nine buildings, separate buildings. Now, obviously, these won't have garages, but I would say the height's going to be the thing that makes it. In terms of in keeping with Middleborough, that's a question. But I can tell you in other communities, the height is the issue. What you're going to be talking about something that's going to be right on 105 and likely 5-6 stories.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head, to be honest with you. I know the ones over in Everett Square, we're keeping them to 2 stories. So we're restricting it to the neighborhood. There is a restriction, but I can send you that restriction limit. I think it may be 3 or 4 stories.
Well, the Woodlands is, but it's spread out.
No, I mean for this new development.
If they can fit 400 in that footprint.
What's that?
If they can fit 400 in that footprint.
The developer is only looking at 200.
200?
Yeah.
I thought we said 400 just a minute ago.
No, you said 400. I thought you were referring to the Woodlands. No, the developer here is looking.
The Woodlands is 400.
Right. The developer here is only doing 200.
Yeah, it's going to have to.
So any other questions? I think the superintendent did a study, given the fact that there are 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom units only, that the impact on the school would be not.
Yeah,
that-
there's a declining population.
You can't say that. You can't say just because it's a 1 bedroom or a 2 bedroom that is.
No, not at all.
There's
Yeah.
no way to predict that. It's like saying, well, only single people between 25 and 30 are going to have those 1 bedroom apartments. There's absolutely no way to predict that. But unless you're looking at another development that has a 1 to 2 bedroom and taking that as some kind of baseline, but to say, there are more people moving out of the city who live in 1 and 2 bedroom apartments because that's all they can afford and have three children. So it's that's a whole nother.
Also, is there going to be some sort of criteria to decide on who are going to get the apartments? Because we're talking about people, commuting into Boston, but how do you know that they are going to be people commuting into Boston? How do you know that it's not going to, sort of be filled with people who are just looking for affordable housing locally and won't be doing it?
That's the problem, Julia, because we're dealing with that in Halifax right now. And the other problem is too, is as somebody who serves on the planning board of Halifax, I think the big misunderstanding is that when it goes in front of a board and then a board approves it, that then it gets like the stamp of approval. That's not the actual case. The planning board's job is just to make sure that any development that comes in is following and adhering to the bylaws set by and voted by the town as far as a future development. But it's not whether or not to say that this is good or bad for the town. That's when it starts going up towards the selectmen, the zoning, and then obviously to the town hall meetings. So that's I think is the big problem from a bylaw standpoint, and the 40R and all the regulations. It probably lines up and took 2 years to make sure that they knock all the details out. And once they hit all of those bylaw numbers, they get to say, okay, you get to go to the next step now. But to start saying that we got to bring in, 1,000 new people, and by bringing those in, it's going to reduce taxes. It's also going to increase the amount of resources that are needed to
True.
complement those people, right?
Glenn, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, is there a formula or something for so many, because I know this is going to be a commercial and residential. Is there something that says if we're going to put in 200 apartments, there has to be so many businesses, or what is the ratio there? Or we are talking about commercial going in, but how do we know how much and, what kind? So could it be 200 apartment buildings and a tattoo parlor? I mean, just I'm
No,
not
a piece of
tattoo
shop.
parlor.
And yes, if that's the case, you get my vote.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Could it be like 200 apartment buildings in a doctor's office? And they're gonna say that's the commercial end that we were looking for. What are the restrictions of the ratios, I guess is my question, or is that not a known?
Well, essentially, our goal was to have a commercial on the first floor of all of the buildings, but they found that was not, it was not feasible. And I don't recall why that was. So they've moved all of those equitable first floor businesses to a separate building. So the ratio will be in matching with the number of buildings that have apartments. They're just moving their commercial to a separate building further southwest of the apartments. So it's going to be a little separate commercial area.
Which is fine. Like I said, I just didn't know if it was, when they say commercial, is it, again, one doctor's office, they see commercial?
No, it's going to be storefront.
Okay.
So it's a matter of how, what tenants are attracted to that area.
Okay.
And the nicer the area, the nicer tenants you're going to have.
Yeah.
I mean, quite frankly.
But there's no, I remember discussing this with you on Friday, Janice, that there's no, we don't know what commercial businesses are going in there. It is just a commercial facility. There will be, but there is no control over, whether it's going to be a coffee shop or a convenience store or a tattoo parlor for Brendan.
Well, within the limits of the town, like we won't have an adult entertainment down there, anything like that. But no, at this point, they're just going to be probably tenants, right? We don't know.
All you have to do is put a tattoo parlor in and a dog park, and you get our full vote of approval.
I like the dog park.
So.
Any other questions? It
I do
sounds
want-
like. it
I do
sounds
wanna
like- Go ahead, Janice.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to, and I'm not sure, I couldn't see the face or the name of the person who was speaking, who's on the planning board. I think it was Mr. Elliott.
Brendan, that's not
Brendan.
Mr., that's Brendan.
Yeah,
Okay, Brendan.
yeah. I got a long way to go before I earn the Mister.
I'm old school. I'll call you Elliot though. There's a lot of information on how the enrollment figures are going down despite growth of the population in the schools. So I just want to reiterate that even though you had a thought about you can't measure how many kids are coming in, the consensus is that enrollment is going down no matter how much growth there is. And part of the presentation that was there the other night from Dottie was showing the figure. She has scales in Middleborough for the past I think it was 15 years, showing how the enrollment is going down despite the population growth. So
Well, unfortunately, and I know that part of that is because of the quality of education that's offered in the town, which is also
no.
due to a lack of resources that are being provided.
Yeah, I can't speak to that.
And so a lot of people are outsourcing their education into the more private sector or a school of choice, like a Bridgewater or something like that, where they can go and get better resources. So that's the juxtaposition, right? You bring in 1,000 people or a whole new development and you're building it up around a train station, and then it's where are the resources then being reallocated towards that population. It may reduce taxes, but where's the give and take on the resources provided for the town? But that's not our job. Our job is to think about the economic impact on the business.
Right, right.
So that's why we got to make sure we stay on that. But
So I think what we'll do is do an email vote for support, or maybe you need more information. And if you could look at some of those links that Janice sent along, that would be very helpful. At the same time, Brendan, both Coyle Cassidy and Sacred Heart closed.
yeah, there are a lot more towns that are offering school of choice, like Bridgewater. Rainham recruits from 5 different towns.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to be in a private school sector, just a school that's not in the Middleborough district or a Carver or something like that. But anyways, but that's a whole nother conversation that I think Sandy was also thinking about the bigger picture of it. But our job, I think, as the chamber would not be to necessarily think about that. It would be more about the economic impact for the surrounding businesses. Because one of the things I've learned quickly by being on that board is stay in your lane. Right? And so our lane is more from a business economic standpoint than it is a school board.
Right.
Yeah, the superintendent's taking care of the school situation in that case.
Thank you, Brendan. I know that you've got to hop off for NGU.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
See you in a few minutes.
Does anybody else have any questions or?
No, I think what Brendan said is really, that was excellent, because like you said, stay in your lane. So, I don't know if we're just going to consider the economic impact to the region. I still think, it's going to bring in some business, but I don't know, and maybe we just vote and say if it's going to be a business coming in, it's going to be a good thing. But to Julia's point and to what I had raised earlier, we don't know what kind of businesses, and I'm not saying, like Brendan said, it's not going to be an adult, video store, and it's not going to be a tattoo parlor. I get that, but is it going to be, a coffee shop and a hair salon, which nothing wrong with that, but are we expecting more, or are we just going to say if there's any kind of a business going in, it's going to be a good thing for the economy? So I think that's a question that we have to kind of ask ourselves, and maybe we won't know the answer to that until it goes through, and then it's up to the selectmen of this town to say, here are the type of businesses. And to Janice's point, the nicer it is, the better it's going to attract, but we still don't know.
Well, then we can give a caveat that, if in fact the commercial part of it is developed, and if there are quality retail stores, it would be, we as a chamber could support that. But we don't know that that's going to happen, I mean, we can always support with a caveat, I guess. But
that's true.
And understand, just one last thing, it's not the quality so much that I care about. I'm not saying that we should have a quality, meaning that one business isn't as good as another. I guess it's more quantity. Are we going to be, since we don't know if 200 apartments go in, and Janice, you've done an excellent, you've answered the questions that you could, and you've done an excellent presentation. I just want to thank you. But I just want to make sure that we, and again, it's not the quality of the business, because any business coming in is going to raise something, but more the quantity. So if we're going to say that we've approved this to go in, and out of it, there was one convenience store that came out of it. Does that make sense? I mean, do we want something more than that, or are we, I don't know. I just wanted to throw this out for discussion, because I don't know, we're going to take a vote now.
Sandy was shaking her head.
I just think that, and again, working for the gas and electric department, I can tell you, we'll serve whoever, whatever.
Yeah.
That is our regulated requirement. We'll serve anyone, anywhere they need us, we're there. And that's our lane. The Chamber of Commerce's lane, as Glenn was so eloquently putting it, is like, what is the benefit of, your current members, your current membership, all right, and your communities. I think there's way too much up in the air. This is a very general amount of information, but I do think it might be valuable for guidance to issue a letter that the chamber or the directors here agree on what you would support. You know, what kind of things would you support? That provides some great guidance as to what a vision, a Chamber of Commerce, and it gets you right into the moment of envisioning
Great
what
point.
it could be.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's exciting. That you could get your membership around. You know, let's helping the chamber thrive, helping the community thrive.
Right.
What does it look like?
Right.
You know, if I may, I'd also like to encourage, and I am putting a lot of work on you because I can't possibly provide you with all of the ins and outs and pros and cons that are in your discussion right now. I mean, I really encourage you to look at smart growth development around transit-oriented, it's TOD development, transit-oriented development, the purposes and the outcomes of that, which is what this is. This is transit-oriented development to take advantage of the rail, to take advantage of, you know, planned development and resources. If you have an opportunity, at least look at that to see what kind of the outcomes are. And in the meantime, to your question, Glenn, I can possibly look at the plans as they exist now. Once again, this is not a signed deal with this development group, and tell you maybe they've identified how many units of retail they're going to have, and then I could pass that on to you. I know that's a real specific answer to your question, but your question encompasses many more, you know, much more of a ethereal feel
Right.
to it.
Right.
But I can at least get you that. But again, I want to encourage all, just if you have the opportunity, look at transit-oriented development to see what the benefits are, or the, you know, the negatives. But that gives you more of a broader view of what's happening here. Because your questions are going to be very specific now, which we don't have the answers to, because we don't have a signed developer. We have a possible developer. So.
Right. And Janice, also, you know, you had said it, and I think it's something that we have to keep in mind too, which was excellent, that we have more control. The 40R is more control than a 40B. So
Yes.
if we can do something and keep some control, I think that's obviously the way to go. But, you know, I really like Sandy's point that we can kind of go in and we can kind of say we would support, you know, this. So anyway.
Well, I think there's a lot of information there. Thank you, Janice. It's very good of you. You've been so patient with all our questions and stuff.
No problem.
Valerie, what do you think as far as the meeting is concerned? If nobody has any more questions?
I think we're done.
Okay.
Sandy, I want to thank you for your input. That was, and you, Glenn, everyone. And we'll learn more. And I think maybe we can get a small group of people together to start to write a letter, and at least of what your vision is as a chamber, you know, because Janice would like someone, and it could be me or maybe John Oliveri or maybe Sandy, to go to the meeting on September 7th, is it?
Yeah, it is the 7th. I think you and I talked about going, actually.
Yes, we could together. And so we can, you know, it would be nice to have something to say. Right?
Well, hopefully we can find out a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, if everybody's on the same page, should we motion to adjourn the meeting? Okay.
Well, wait, I'm sorry, did Pam say, Valerie say that she wanted to show us something afterwards?
I did, but you know, it's probably too late now.
Okay.
Well, yeah, just quickly, Janice, you don't have to stay. I just want to go.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much for your time.
Have a good day.
Okay. I just very quickly, after we've been talking to, do you see that or no?
No, you
Okay.
didn't share.
Jeez, I'm crow. Share screen.